Hello, welcome back to YouTube Portfolio. If you don't know what YouTube Portfolio is, it's a portfolio run by YouTube. If you want me to buy or sell a stock, all you got to do is put it in the comments. If it's the most upvoted comment, that's the stock I will buy. Check back in every week to see what stock we bought and to see how the portfolio is doing. So this past week, it has killed it. It was up 5.88%, which is really, really good. Last week, if you remember, I recorded it a little bit early, so I feel like I have to give a little bit of an update on last week. And all it did was tank more and more and more until the start of this week, where it just rocketed right back up. The stock we bought, if you're still paying attention to this right side here, was Delta Airlines, DAL. It's been a pretty good stock, up 5% today. Our best performing stock is still Apple. It was one of our longest holdings, so that sort of makes sense. Our worst was Slack, which pretty much has been down ever since I got it. It's for today, which was a good amount of recovery for us. Hello. So before we talk about how to become a billionaire, I want to explain what this graph is, what compounding interest is, and where all these numbers come from. So if you're looking at this graph and looks a little confused, this right here is the amount of money you theoretically have, and this is the number of years you've been following this investing for. This equation is just if you were to invest this amount per month at this return annually, this is your expected amount of money, and this is how much money you would have actually put into the account. So why does this look like this? And where does 8% come from? Well, I'll start with where 8% comes from, and that is the S&P 500 average return, which if you don't know, the S&P 500 is just a basket of a bunch of different stocks that do really well and people kind of use as a benchmark. So if you were able to just buy S&P 500 shares, which you kind of can in the form of an ETF, something with the ticker SPY, VOO, or IVV, those are all S&P 500 index funds. They return about 8% per year. And if you were to put in $1,000 a month, this is what it would look like without any of the stock returns. So why is this gap so big? Well, because if you're down here at $10,000 and you get 8% from the S&P 500 per year, that's $800 extra dollars. Now, if you've already contributed $12,000 that year, then $800 extra dollars doesn't make a huge difference. But if you're all the way up here at $1 million and you get 8%, that's $80,000, which means that's way more than the $12,000 you contributed that year. So that compounds on itself. The next year, you have $1,100,000 almost, which would mean instead of just returning on your stocks $80,000, you return $80,000 plus another $8,000, so $88,000, and that keeps building on itself, making these gaps even bigger while your contributions stay the same.
So you always hear on YouTube how to become a millionaire over a long period of time, investing little and little amounts, but I wanted to tackle a bigger, a cooler topic today. I wanted to tackle how to become a billionaire over time using the same exact right here. If you're looking at our graph, this is the amount of money you would have. So this is a billion, this is 200 million. This is the amount of years it would take you to get there. So right now we're looking at about 110 years to reach a billion, contributing $1,000 a month. So while most people don't live to 110, if you did, it would be pretty easy to become a billionaire. So let's look at what you can do to become a billionaire. So some of the things that you can do. You can either have a very long time frame. If you live to be 160, well, it's pretty easy to become a billionaire. All you have to do is put away very, very, very small amounts of money, somewhere around 40, I don't know, it's hard to reach that small, less than $40 a month. What else can you do to become a billionaire? Well, you can have a really high rate of return. So let's look at what if you were to make even 10% on your money instead of just 8%. That cuts your time down to 90 years, which is still very, very difficult to do in a lifetime, but it gets even crazier the higher we go up. So at just 12%, we're already in the 80s of years. Just to say, if you were able to start investing $1,000 a month at 20, at 12%, you could reasonably, if you got lucky and lived a while, get $1 billion. So what if you're able to make 15% on your money? Well, all of a sudden, you're looking at something like 62, 63 years and you would be a billionaire. And some insane levels, like let's look at 25%. It would only take you about 40 years to get that. So this is how a lot of people who are billionaires become billionaires, except they do it like this. All you have to do is make 50% year over year for something like 20, 21 years and you're a billionaire. That's how people like Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates have made their billions, by just having a company for a really long time and it consistently doing really, really well, or even having a few good years where it doubles multiple times over. That makes your money grow really, really, really quickly. See, the other way to become a billionaire, let's bring this back to the market average, is to make a lot of money, except that helps a lot less than you'd think. So look at that. If you were to make a ton of money, enough to put $10,000 away, that's putting $120,000 away a year, which is really, really difficult. That would make it so you would become a billionaire around the age of 80-ish. Most people cannot put that much away at all. I think it's worth looking at if we make it even higher. If you were to put $50,000 away a month, which is pretty much impossible and will be for most people for their entire lives, it would still take you around 61 years or so. So yeah, those are the ways to become a billionaire. You either need to live a really long time, to make a ton of money, or to figure out a way to get a really high interest rate. Now, the reason I made this video is because I think it's funny when people talk about how billionaires, it would take somebody working minimum wage 2,000 years to earn that amount of money, and you're almost thinking, well, how is that even possible then that they did it? Well, they just did it with a really high interest rate. For example, even if we do something like this, not 100, 1.0, which is 100% doubling every year, all of a sudden, it doesn't take a whole lot of time at all. It takes less than 10 years and you're a billionaire. Nope, we didn't even put that all the way up. So yeah, that's how people like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and Jeff Bezos all made their money. This doubling effect right here from a really high interest rate. They didn't make it with this Z value, they made it with this I value. And I think that's really interesting, that out of all these things, you think about how much money you make, how long you're in the market, but in reality, the thing that can make the biggest difference with the smallest change is just this I value right here. To wrap it up here, I wanted to cover a little bit of what it would look like to become a millionaire. Obviously, this billionaire is just a joke. It's something that not a lot of people can do. So let's take a look at that. This is $1 billion, this is $100 million, $10 million, and $1 million. Look at how small it looks compared to $1 billion up there. We can go ahead and zoom in and see what that looks like. If we're looking at this, this is how to become a millionaire, looking at the scale of 70 years. Putting away $1,000 a month, and you cross that really, really easily. You can see how it would be really an attainable goal for anybody in their lifetime. Say your working amount is 20 years, you can easily achieve that. Even if we make this step a little bit down, and we can look at lower numbers, even if you're only able to put away $500 a month, that would still make you a millionaire by 32 years. Really accessible for most people. And even if you're only able to put away $200 a month, that still would put you at 42 years, reasonable in life expectancy. And since this is the market average, that would really help you out. And even something a little bit lower, $100, you'd become one at about 65 years, which is $100 a month is not a ton to put away. It could definitely be hard for some people, but most people can probably spare that. So that's how to become a billionaire. Very out of reach, obviously, for most people, but it's cool to see how when you expand the time, or you expand the amount of contribution, or you expand the interest rate, all of these things can be factor in and make it a really quick process to become a millionaire or even a billionaire.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to check back in next week if you want to see what I buy and how the portfolio is doing. Remember, if you want me to buy a stock or sell stock, all you got to do is put a comment down below, and that is what I will do. I'll see you next week.